Hello, this is the CNCF Sustainability Tech Proposal Review Meeting. Today is August 10th. All right, the recording just got started. So if people don't mind, I can just call the name on my screen from the number one Neil. Make the introduction as well as yourself.
Did you call out my name?
Yeah, you're on
Yes.
first.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Hi. I'm Leo. I'm yeah. What can I say? I'm a student. Still studying in Hamburg, computer science. Now master. Working for Liquid Reply, so part-time as a consultant. Doing a lot of open source stuff. Open source work for Kubernetes for the release team. I'm the release team lead shadow, and yeah, around in the sustainability field for like half a year now, I would say. This is also the focus of my study, and yeah, awesome to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Kara?
Kara Delia. I'm a principal community architect with Red Hat in the office of the CTO. I focus on financial services, communities, and sustainable finance, and also sustainability as a vertical across communities, focusing on energy, manufacturing, industrials.
Thank you. EK?
Yeah, my name is Eun-Kyung Lee, but actually many people call me EK, so I think you can call me EK. So I'm working at IBM Research in Yorktown, East Coast, and I'm the sub-team lead on sustainability in IBM Research. And my team is focusing on a lot of time on infrastructure improvement, and also that include the sustainability aspect as well. And these days we are helping also working with Kwame about the Kepler, and also refining the model, and then how we can replace the model easily, and also working with the Chen Wang here, and then about so feeding all this information for vertical the path scaling ideas, and also in the meantime I'm also working on inside of IBM, align all this strategies align together with sustainability. Thank you.
Okay, Chen?
Hello, everyone. I'm Chen Wang from IBM Research. I'm a research scientist working on resource management and on Kubernetes, which is a container cloud platform. And recently, I closely worked with EK and Huaming on improving sustainability for our Kubernetes clusters, including enhancing the observability, like the Kepler project. Also some energy aware vertical auto scaling project that can take, for example, frequency into considerations when you do vertical auto scaling for workloads.
Thank you. Deb?
Hi, everyone. My name is Deb Bernstein. I am physically on the East Coast of the US, Massachusetts. I work for Intel. I am the Chief Sustainability Technologist in the Data Center and AI group, and we are very interested in reducing the carbon footprint of our data center chips in use. And I guess not just big data centers, we're also interested in networking and the edge, of course, and a lot of use cases of Kubernetes all throughout there. Nice to meet y'all.
Hey, Tony.
Hi, Tony Monkolsmy. I actually used to be in the data center group, building data center platforms around AI, using Kubernetes, etc. I'm actually now in our software office of the CTO group, so focused on software sustainability. So, dealing with Kubernetes, CNCF stuff, also trying to figure out how to build software for sustainability as well.
So that's quite a privilege to have both hardware and software in the same house.
Yeah. Well.
Hey, Sandra.
Hello, I'm also part of Red Hat, also part of the CTO office, same interest as the other member in helping Red Hat and our customer reduce their carbon footprint.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe I can just go ahead and get our review started. Maybe I can just share my screen and we can start from here.
Is this the HackMD file?
Yeah, so this is a HackMD file in the meeting invite. Have the link over there. So we have a, this is the, I think this is the fourth, actually this is the fifth review meeting. I think that for the sake of the focus, we can just make certain things happen first. So in the previous meetings, we have been talking about a lot about the goals and the deliverables and in scope and out of scope. I feel that this is still a work in progress. And the more we meet different people, the more we get into the question of what we can do. And as a CNCF, are we starting a new process or just are we going to duplicate the existing efforts by other organizations? Let's see. Yeah, that's the link. Thank you, Kara. So for the sake of the discussion here, I would love to hear from the crowd that's what do you think in top of your mind, the most important thing this proposal needs to cover. And if you feel that something is missing, maybe you can just discuss it over here. Maybe I can just bring one thing in top of my mind. So the discussion we had over time is that we discussed the technologies in CNCF and also what we can do as this tech for the other projects, for the other communities within CNCF, both of which is falling into the scope 1 and scope 2 category. And how we're going to move on to the scope 3, which is more important in many organizations, like 80% of the emissions come from scope 3. Can we, what CNCF as a community can do, or as a CNCF as a collaborator can do in this area? I would love to hear the inputs from the people. And also from the, any ideas we can throw here, that's great. If it's not something we can deliver in scope, maybe you can put it into certain language over there to help people, help organizations to identify and tracking their scope 3 emissions, things like that. I mean, this is not just to say we will replace everything in scope and out of scope. It's just for one of the items we can discuss today.
So I don't. Was there a meeting last night? So we did have the outline that was proposed, and I was wondering, is that something that we wanted to look at? Maybe, I guess a lot of the feedback that we got from this, and I think on the mailing list that was agreed upon, is we have a lot of, I'll say verbiage, I don't know the right word. We have a lot of words here, but what we really were trying to do is figure out how to make it concise for what the tag,
streamline it.
Yeah, to streamline
Okay.
it. And rather than us trying to edit what we already have, would it be more efficient to go look at that template, decide whether that template we agree on, and then take the pieces of here and put it into the template where the pieces fit, and then look at, because then we'll start from a streamlined version rather than a lot of words.
Well,
Yeah, that sounds good. So maybe I'm just still recovering from my quite worn out mind. So yeah, that's actually a better idea. We just streamline the proposal first, and then we can just focus on certain other things. Let's see. We actually have feedbacks all of the places. Do you want to start from the very beginning, or just do you want to have certain things to start with?
Yeah. Well, I think Tony's saying something a little different, but
Yeah.
the one thing is this was taken from the security charter. And I think we
Right.
talked about, so DIMS had said last time, let's shrink this down. If you look at other charters, they're not as robust. The one piece of feedback that I had given was, while I definitely get that this needs to be smaller, we do need to have it a little bit more robust than maybe say the storage charter, and because we need to be clear on what we are doing as opposed to, say, the Green Software Foundation, because I don't, we're not a replication of that.
So,
Okay.
So the link that here, post this Google Doc was the one that Ariel had created, and I think that's the right one.
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay.
And because if we start with this, then we might be able to just say, okay, what goes in the intro, and then we can look at comments and choose what we pick from the first thing. But I think that we'll end up with something. This definitely needs to go in. This doesn't need to go in. Type flow, and that might help us come up with something smaller just to start with, and then we can go back and figure out what needs to be added still. Do we feel like things are being left out?
What about the comments? There are still a few comments, I think, not answered. Should we discuss them alongside? So basically, during we basically transform the document into the new template, or should we discuss the comments first and then create the transform the template or something? So
yeah, and I guess the question does the comment apply? So if we're not going to translate something over, maybe the comment doesn't matter if it's about, oh, I don't like the way this is framed. We have to worry about this data being right. If we don't think it's needed in the new document,
makes sense.
Then maybe we don't have to spend time discussing it. I guess that's what I was trying to avoid is, can we just pick the things that we need to discuss?
Right. So at the moment, so we have the introduction. That's one we do not yet have. Do we, what do we see here? But the mission statements in the first paragraph and the first 4 paragraphs looks quite extensive.
Right.
So
and so like if we said, what is the most important thing? Like the mission statement doesn't necessarily have anything to do about the Paris Climate Accords. It's just what is the goal? What is the mission of this group? Which could be almost as simple as, we seek to provide feedback tools along with promoting practices and standards around sustainability. And maybe we pull like the next 2 paragraphs, that sentence, and then the paragraph after it.
So
like that's the mission statement.
Yeah. So the Paris Climate Accords would be the introduction more.
Yeah.
And the mission would, okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Should we create a new document and then copy things over to the new document, or should we edit the existing one? Probably edit the existing one. Yeah.
Yeah,
because these are version. Yeah, these are the version tracked. So if you are not happy with the version, we can just always go back.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's when the first paragraph is removed to the introduction.
That's already making it look a lot better.
Okay, so let's just make this one balanced. So this, my Mac is going something funky today. Okay. So we have the introduction about the Paris Climate Accord and what we want to achieve in this tag. And then that comes to the mission statement. Should we still keep this bullet? Why tag in sustainability? Because basically the mission statements to me is to explain why we are here. We probably don't need enough. Okay, I just comment this out. I don't know if this is for everybody, but for me, just the mission and the vision usually goes much smaller in sentences.
Yes.
And we have quite some of the words here. Do you want to streamline it into certain ways?
I wonder if, and by the way, I'm being I talk a lot, so feel free to cut me off. I won't be offended. I feel like the pieces, after we recognize that, I don't think they belong in the mission statement section, and maybe we just need to figure out where they belong. Like it's not here necessarily.
Yeah. So there's like one section, we want projects that cover more materials. Maybe this is more in scope, so maybe we could maybe add this to in scope or rephrase this, or
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that we recognize that. It's almost like it goes under much later in the acknowledgements. I mean, you can acknowledge people, or well, I think there's contributor section, but we acknowledge these are market issues.
Okay. So let's just move to the responsibilities. Temporarily, for as a placeholder. The mission statement is much more easy to understand.
I'm still not clear on what the, let me go into the doc. We seek to provide feedback and tools along with promoting practices and standards. Because we're not providing, who are we providing the feedback to? Because one of the things we had said is we didn't want to come across as too know-it-all or
Right.
authoritative. Sorry, tired.
these are
Yeah, we seek
more
to maybe
goals.
Yeah, go ahead, Leo.
It sounds, or it reads like this. These are more goals and not the mission, maybe. So I also had like different templates seen before, maybe for working group or something, where they described also goals, and then like a mission, goals, and then some other sections. And maybe this would be more goals and not the mission. I don't know. Maybe the introduction to in scope or something like this. I don't know.
So let me ask you this question: should we keep the sentence or just remove it? We seek to provide feedback and tools along with promoting practices and standards. I think we have been repeating the same theme over and over in the text is below.
It's diluting it, and it's also rhetorical.
Okay.
Yeah, I say we remove it. So it's and that's a good point, Leo, around the goals. I mean, that really is more the vision piece. So it's mission, vision, and then I guess responsibilities and deliverables.
The outline, proposed outline is we have the mission and kind of in scope and out scope, and the interface with other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do not necessarily have to have a vision.
Vision. Yeah. No, you're right. Oh yeah, we don't even have responsibilities and deliverables in the new one. Which I think that's fine. I mean, this is still high level. I mean, when we start actually getting into the work, that's when we can identify the responsibilities and deliverables.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think we're just trying to scope, right? What are we going to be responsible for, not how we're going to do it. There's no implementation plan we need right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right, sounds like we are done with the mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the responsibility and the deliverables. This is always my thinking that because sustainability is largely TBD in many areas, especially in software and development, versus the, let's say, technologies, securities of and storage. These are well-defined, well-progressed technologies. So the responsibility and deliverables are very well-defined. So I think we have a explicit section for responsibilities and deliverables makes sense because we want to keep up, make these statements early, so we know for people who are not quite sure what this tag is about. By having these languages here, will help people to shake up their thinkings and mindset. What should be what can be done in this tag. and what we are, well, our definitions of responsibilities.
I agree, but then can we not cover that in what's in scope, or is it too like what's the difference between a responsibility and what's in scope for what we would cover?
I think the responsibilities is logically thinking in my mind that we should do certain things, but these are not necessarily the action items. The in scope and out scope is more like the action items in more detail than of the responsibilities. Because the way is we have the high level guidelines, what we do in this attack, and then at the low level definitions, what are the action we can take in more finely defined granularities.
So that makes sense. Would this be with responsibilities and deliverables? Are you saying that's the fine grain? In which case, doesn't it go after in scope and out of scope?
Yeah, I think that is more like a guiding principles. The responsibilities and deliverables are like the guiding principles, and in scope and out scope is a final definition of what we do in exact terms. So if you're looking at the in scope and out scope, a lot of things are very actionable. For example, they define the power metrics. The first one, power metrics and power management. This is a very actionable item. In the second one, so how we are going to work with the assessment. That is also something doable in plain language. But if you're going to say the responsibilities, let's just say the last one, this methodologies to measure 3 scopes. This is you say certain things like methodologies is still a work in progress or just a high level guidelines what we want to achieve.
Would this be like then like landscape? Or landscape's the wrong word, but like it's kind of the background section because you're saying there's a unique background here we want to explain to people which matters. So whatever the word is, I don't think that's responsibility and deliverables though, because it's not necessarily what we're.
Yeah, it could be methodology, it could be vision, it could be maybe goals. I don't
challenges, because this is like the challenges, right? This is there is no standards. We're going to try to help define them. It's not clear. Okay, we can figure out the title later, but that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, I like the landscape piece. Yeah.
Even like I don't understand what is a responsibility. I think we have to make sure that what this responsibility means.
Yeah,
what is a responsibility?
It's overloaded.
I would take them out. Yeah.
So I think it's a perspective where the responsibility that whoever write this document has to have it, or I think this imposed in a responsibility to the users who might use this software stack or this CNCF. I don't understand what is the responsibilities maybe.
Yeah.
Tony, you just said from which perspective we are looking at this paragraph.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good way to describe. So the original thinking, in my opinion, could be that we are from the lens of technology and methodology providers. These are responsibility for the community. But if we are coming from the end user's lens perspective, then the responsibility could be the other way.
Okay. I think for the responsibility for security is really clear, right? So for the responsibility, whoever doing the security software is really clear. But actually, for whoever doing, responsibility for, sustainability, it might be a little bit different. I know from the beginning, from the get-go, we know that, responsibility for the environment is a very clear motivation. So I think what else responsibility do we have to write it down over here? I think that is still question.
Yeah, but remember, the document is not for the end user or for us. It is for us to define what we are going to cover as part of this group. So we should think of it, we're writing to them. So if we're writing to them, a responsibly and deliverable is what we would provide, right? This is all supposed to be stuff that we are going to provide as a functionality as a group. So I don't even know if the word makes sense here. Unless we're going to do it. If we're actually going to do it, then yes, it's our responsibility to liberalize it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think also from the the work group or community meeting, the deems that this proposal is what we will present to the TOC. So the readers should be a TOC. So they are looking at the responsibilities. Maybe they are from their understanding what we will at the tag will do for the TOC or for CNCF. So I think we have to have the debate a lot for what's the title should for this section, or are we going to keep the section as it is? Should we reword this in a different way, or should we embed it somewhere else?
I think keeping the section makes sense if we feel like there's something, when you said there's something unique here that we want to explain, then it makes sense to keep it, and we just need to explain to them that this is context that we want to provide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So in that case, I would just have it under background or landscape or whatever, pick your word, but it's definitely not a responsibility to deliver both because that would be confusing.
Okay, let us use
Yeah, we also have deliverables later on in this existing document.
let us use background for now.
I think that works. Yep.
By the way, we still have the August 15 meeting before we can finalize the proposal. So there's still lots of thinking we can have between now and then.
Yeah, and we have to clean up that greenwashing sentence too. We
Mhm.
that will clean up, but we can do that later. Oh, fine.
Okay.
And also
Agreed.
one sorry.
So go ahead, Neil.
Okay, one thing that I just noticed, so there's under background, the second paragraph in this slide, blah, 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 and so on, there's the tag goals, right? So this is probably what we said earlier about that we want to have like unified wording and so on, because we don't describe any goals, or at least we don't name them as goals. We say we have in scope targets or something, and out of scope targets. So maybe we need to, after we went through the entire document, maybe we need to, like, I don't know, have like a search about some words that we use once or twice and don't use, like,
Consistency. Yeah, it doesn't read consistently.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, we need to have a proofreader. It goes through the whole document again.
And also, I don't know if the background section is needed, but I would, for now, just continue to the next one and then come back to it later also. I don't know.
I think for brevity, certain things should be stay, like just the background information. If that is something essential for people to go through the
but maybe this
context,
should.
if that's something, let's say, to go ahead, Leo.
But I think if there's like some background information, maybe this could also be rephrased in the introduction section. So it's like introduction, you read something about the Paris climate stuff, and then you have maybe some little background information. But for example, the projects that we listed, I don't know, I think we could also move this to in scope and keep it short, but yeah, let's see.
Okay, that's probably one of the suggestions. Okay. So we have a lot of this mix. I should keep a note somewhere.
Waman, if you want to share that with me, I don't mind taking notes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So maybe you can just have some background about the background section. I think at the very beginning, when Malo and many of us are working on this proposal, we want to have the lots of thinkings put into the same documents. And that's why you're probably going to see some of the languages, some of the things mentioned more than once. So it's definitely a good time to revisit and reconcile. For the in-scope and out-scope, and also for the greenwashing, there's a lot of debates here. I think we also add a few things here explicitly to identify what is greenwashing. And then the whole in-scope and out-scope gets a little bit out of control in many other ways. So would this be a good time that we read through this in-scope again and see if there's something we can merge and clarify?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that certain things are unique to this tag. For example, the power management, the power metrics, that is unique in this tag. And certain other things, the tag can help the CNCF community to achieve. For example, to evaluate the technologies and the power efficiencies. These are the things that we can help. And certain other things is the tag is going to collaborate with other communities. And then we also come to the different research areas, such as methodologies and greenwashing, these kind of things. Should we put them into these categories instead of just let them go around everywhere? For example, we have this the unique to this tag thing, define the power management metrics and develop this performance. This, I think, something we can do. And maybe if you are pushing into that order, into certain categories, then maybe it's easy to follow. Do you like the idea?
You can go ahead and do it, and then we can just see what we have, and we can always take it out later. It doesn't hurt to have it.
All right, so I'm just put some of the space here. So I just put a small notes. It's just placeholders. Don't take them as final form.
So also we have another collaboration in alignment at the bottom of the document, right? I think you might want to clarify those things maybe.
right? If you're looking at this these 4 categories, something are easy to understand, like what the tag can do in terms of power and performance, and the contribution to the CNCF and the general community is that we can help them define scope and evaluate the sustainability metrics using our expertise. And we want to develop certain software systems that will be able to capture their sustainability scores in terms of carbon emission. And we also want to help them build a high-level overviews on architectures and end-user recommendations. In order to get there, we also have to develop the tooling benchmark. This one should also be
I feel like the end user part is also the tax scope.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I feel like the end user making recommendations to the end user part. Yeah, help users to tie the improvements to carbon net zero goals. Does that also belong to the tax scope?
If I have to adapt to my small laptop, eyesight is deteriorates a lot in the summer.
Need an upgrade.
Ask Mac, Apple.
So again, like at the end of the this document, there's another collaboration. This might be duplication, right?
Mm-hmm.
Collaboration.
Yeah, alignment and collaboration. I think if you go down, and that this might be a.
Yeah, could we merge the in-scope collaboration goals to here?
Which one? Sorry.
So your in-scope, you have also collaboration, but there's another
Oh yeah, that's
bigger bullet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you go down to after the figure, I mean, there's.
I'm looking up the bullets. I think my bullets is just one level up. It shouldn't be that way.
Well, and also under greenwashing, there's a collaborate. The very last bullet in greenwashing has collaborate for something. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Efforts.
All right.
I wonder if it might be clean. I don't know if this is true. Like looking at all of these things, it seems like there's just categories of things that we're doing that are different. You've broken it down by how we're interacting with others or what we're covering, but really it seems like we could break it down into how we're communicating inside and outside, things that we need to identify, methodologies we need to create, and does that make sense? Like it seems like there's certain stages that we're trying to cover, and like some of these say, oh, we're going to identify, define, and develop, and we're going to do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
It might be easier to just say, here's the areas of things where we're going to identify the problems. Here's the areas where we're going to define solutions. Here's the areas where we're going to potentially develop solutions. Because there's some things that we'll identify and say, this is a problem, but we're not going to solve it. But let's call it out as a problem. I don't know if that breakdown is any more useful in terms of like trying to figure out what we're doing, because it seems like there's a lot of duplication in all of these bullets. Is why
maybe we can just
like even if you're looking in like the greenwashing one, it seems like that some of these two bullets could be combined with like even the identify, define, and develop procedures and technologies that can be used to create carbon unit metrics. That could be included in the contribution to CNCF. Just maybe, have it be a little more clear. I don't know. It just seems like, yeah.
And how is that different than bullet 2 in TAG's contribution to CNCF?
Well,
Which
right.
That's where I'm trying to figure out, is there a better way to break down, or at least to get rid of the duplication where we can say, here's the things that are obviously duplicated. And or how do we want to phrase them? Because really what we want to do is say, for these bullet points, sure, maybe they're duplicated. Here's the important pieces we care about out of this.
Okay. Yeah, so I agree with you, Tony. This is quite a struggling. So because I think because the reason that we have so much duplication is that the items are posted by different people at different time. The thinking and context are not exactly consistent. So now we have a small team here trying to clean them up, and we are working it out of context. So this makes it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start with a new list and use the existing points as reference. So as we basically also said before, maybe, so we can I don't know, comment all out or something like this, and then or
the way I'm kind of afraid of is the way I'm kind of afraid is that we do not have, this probably is a bad idea, that we do not have an idea or methodology to create the in-scope and also scope. So every time we visit this section, we just have ad hoc ways to edit our opinion. And then the next time people are coming from different style, different background, they may also have their own ways. What's the best process? The language. Tony, I like your language. Would you mind to repeat your idea again? Just say we use in certain area and we use in certain verb, and we're trying to.
Sure. So the way I'm looking at it is just because we're using common verbs. So if we could break it down by where are we going to identify issues, because that's the first thing. We can all agree that we're going to identify some issues. We can also agree we're going to create some methodologies. What they are, we will create some methodologies. And then there will be certain things where we are, and I would say creating a methodology is probably similar to defining. I don't know, maybe define is separate if we need to define something separate. And then there are things that we will actually implement or develop.
If I just say the action, the targets, and the goal. Yeah. So if I put these things together,
that's fair.
What we're going to do is are we going to define, or are we going to develop, or just have to do both? And what are the targets? So these are the targets like the power metrics, power management, and like certain things. And what's the goal? Are we going to achieve these goals within our tag as a CNCF collaboration, or just as a methodology? So what is the end game for that action?
I think that makes sense. That
makes sense. So all right, if you go along that line, so maybe you can just say, let's just do a few examples. See if that's a method can work. So if you are doing these things, for example, the tag scope. So the action is we were trying to identify, define, and develop. And the targets are power metrics measurements. The first target is power metrics measurements and management. And then the performance per watt, the power saving, and the goal is potentially either the tooling, just the benchmark, or the tactics and recommendations. So this could be one of the exercise of using this three phases: the actions, targets, goal.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I still think this is really intense. I mean, it just seems like the first two bullets of tag scope, that is not, it's almost like we just need 3 to 4 bullets to, we're identifying, we're defining, we're developing, we're collaborating. Those are, and we can fit the words underneath, but like having, so just looking at this, I could easily say we take out the first two because it seems quite granular for a project. I mean, we can create work streams that are associated with that or projects associated with that, but I don't know if that's something that we need to have defined in the scope.
Right. I think that's reasonable too, right? Because basically what you're saying is these things are so implicit in anything you have to do. There's no reason to write them down here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have the identify, define, and develop in 2 places. I think, obviously the integration piece is going to be important, as is the collaboration, but I think we can, our scope can be done in 4 to 5 bullets. There is just a lot of redundancy, but I mean, and this is to your point, Waman, it's because so many people have been in this document, but I think we could significantly shave this down now.
Okay. Maybe we need some high-level abstractions.
Well, okay, how about this? What if we
Huh?
took if we took just bullet 3
Okay.
and broke it up into 3
Mhm.
different things?
Yeah.
Right. Identify, define, develop procedures to improve environmental sustainability factors. Identify, define, develop benchmarks, right, for energy consumption. And identify, develop, define techniques to manage the software and associate. If you just take those 3 things, that actually covers pretty much everything else underneath. Maybe not the evaluate architectures, but it kind of does, because if I've defined the benchmark, then you should be able to evaluate the architecture off of my benchmark. I don't know if we're doing evaluation, maybe it's a separate thing. But I think that those 3, like, that's really what we're going to do, right? We're going to identify where there are gaps. We're going to identify benchmarks, which is the methodologies, right, that people are going to use to measure whether or not their solution is sustainable. And then we're going to identify techniques and try to promote techniques for creating good, sustainable solutions.
Right.
Everything else fits into those 3 bullets, really.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we want to be more granular. Maybe we don't. That's a different question.
Okay. Yeah. So as long as we can cover the actions we want to achieve here, I think that is a good approach to make it shorter and easy to understand.
As long as we can have this documented somewhere else, because this is good information, and we'll need to come back to it for our, not necessarily for the talk, but for us.
Okay.
We want to actually implement.
Yeah, and I would even still I would break it up into individual bullets.
Yeah.
Because right now it reads really hard. It's very complicated. Whereas if I just if we broke it up in individual things, essentially it's identify things that are bad, create benchmarks, create techniques, right? And it's very simple. I could say those 3 things and people say, or all of these things around sustainability, people say, I understand what your tag is doing. I don't need all the words. It's just, you're going to tell me where the problems are. You're going to tell me how to measure them, and you're going to give me ways to solve them. That's basically what we're saying.
Okay.
So one question about this is this enough? So if I think like having a very high level is good, but is this enough information for the TOC?
Yeah, that's a good question,
I guess.
I think that's a very good question.
So because maybe they want to like kind of know which projects might come out of the TOC, out of the tag or something, and if we have like a very high level, it seems like we don't know anything, kind of, because it's kind of very generic. You probably could also use the 3 bullet points for a different tag.
Okay. How about we break this down using this as sub bullets?
Maybe we can ask dims or so. And we have just 5 minutes left in this meeting, by the way.
Thanks, Lou.
I think the other way we read from the security tag is that they have quite a comprehensive list, and each one will cover its own specific agenda. Have a high-level description is helpful for the reader, but may not. I mean, as Neil said, if the TOC is going too deep into the text, they may want to have more information from there.
Yeah.
Because they are, at the end of the day, they're all technical people.
Maybe one thing we could think about is that we have like an introduction sentence in scope, so which this says basically we want like this list, or like the orientation of this list is that we want to identify, define, and develop, and now we go into more detail. I mean, maybe this could be the middle ground.
That's probably creates more confusion because the way I say it, I have a list is something that everyone is independent. If you have like instruction and then a list and then explain what the list is about, it's going to create more text. It's not again with the idea that we should keep it simple and small. I see that is a bigger question for this from this meeting. We think it's over, and then along the lines of how to keep it short while we still keep enough information for the TOC to make the high-level decision, what the tag can do.
Yeah, bullet 3 in scope is the same as bullet 1 right now, except for the formulate green efficiency scoring methodology, the last sentence.
So which one? Sorry.
Bullet 3 and bullet 1 are the same, except for the last sentence.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to keep the last sentence. I mean, seems reasonable, but
We need to have software to find the duplications. Is this better?
I think so.
Looks to be, yeah.
Okay.
And then how is the second to last bullet different than the first bullet of in scope?
Yeah, this is the one I had a discussion with Mark Butcher. So his idea is about it's more about the end customer's view. That's if you look, for example, yeah.
I see. That might be interesting to call out, especially if it's from a different point of view than above. Because, like you said, what's the goal of this? You know, when you had your, action target goal, I'm not clear what the goal is here. I mean, now that you've said it, it's essentially so end user customers can understand whether or not what they're leveraging makes sense and is sustainable, so they can make a judgment. But yeah.
Do we need to specify this? Because if we just leave it open, then we kind of implicitly say we look at both things, kind of. So I don't know. I think
Let's rework on this item. Add a note here.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to be explicit on I just want it to be differentiated from the first part where we already talked about we're going to create, some benchmarks to basically when you benchmark something, you're creating some unit of measurement. So now I have another one that says I'm creating a unit of measurement. And I just want to be clear why that unit of measurement adds value beyond, what we're going to provide to people to measure.
Okay, I'll just add a note here.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like we're at time. Well, we have 1 minute. I don't know if we can get a lot done in that time.
Yep. So we still got two more meetings. So tomorrow's meeting, tomorrow night, US night and Asian morning. Then we are going to see what's the feedback from Asia. And on the 15th of that is next Monday, we have 8 p.m. US time, and it's going to be somewhere in the afternoon for Neil and the rest of the people. So we are going to have, that is the final review for between we submitted for the TLC. Also, we have to resolve as many as we can. So we still get some of the comments addressed yet. So if you are just spend your time over there, if that is something to for the general idea, we'll keep it short, keep it simple. If that's to add information, we think twice. If that can reduce the amount of text here, that's going to be some action we're going to take. Yeah, that's from my side, and thank you for everybody for your contribution. I will send us the recording and the minutes after the meeting. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Huamin.
Thank you, Amin. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.